Hello and welcome to Newswire. I'm Ayza Omar. Voting was underway in 72 seats across India in the fourth phase of the country's marathon elections for the lower house of India's bicameral parliament. Polling is being held in not just Uttar Pradesh but also Rajasthan, Bihar, Maharashtra, Orissa, West Bengal, Jharkhand and Indian administered Kashmir. Now, we will be discussing various different points of what is happening in these phases and what has happened so far. We've reached a halfway point. Also referring a little to the 2014 elections where India's ruling party won a majority of the seats of these 72 seats. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ruling BJP will be battling the main opposition Congress and a host of other regional parties. Now, these leaders of these two powerful regional rivals have also formed a coalition against the BJP in Uttar Pradesh, India's most populous state and also a key state for determining who gets the majority. Now, let's ask our panel of experts how they are seeing these days lining up to the 23rd of May when the final vote count will be announced, and also what are the patterns and predictions they have for us. And we have with us Mr. Rifat Jawaid, a journalist joining us from Bihar, and also with us is Ms. Vidya Subramaniam, who is the former executive editor of The Hindu. She will be joining us from Delhi. Let me start with you, Ms. Vidya. How do you feel about the four phases that that India has crossed so far? It is definitely a halfway point.
It's more than the halfway point because we are through with 374 seats out of 543. So that the bulk of the seats have already gone to the polls. And so, I mean, if any party hasn't done well in this, it is going to be very difficult for them to catch up in the next three phases. So the fourth phase was a very critical phase, as was also the three phases. But as you know, that the BJP had a majority, and in fact, barring the South, which they didn't do well in 2014, and they're not expected to do well even today. The rest of the North India, and again excluding West Bengal and Orissa, they had a virtual stranglehold on it, winning almost, making a clean sweep of Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, Jharkhand, Maharashtra. So from that situation to today, I mean, it is definitely a change. Although the expectation that is that Mr. Modi will come back, even with reduced seats and probably in a coalition.
Okay, so Mr. Rifat Jawaid, what do you see? What is the word on the street? What is the sentiment like towards BJP? There are definitely a huge change in dynamic from what happened in 2014 in terms of those who were going to the polls, the voters. There are 83 million voters, and 15 million of them are in the young age group, 18 to 19 years old. And of course, unemployment from the youth is a big concern this time around. What do you feel it's been like so far?
Look, I mean, I've been traveling length and breadth of Bihar, which is Hindi heartland. And there were not many seats that went to polls in the fourth phase of elections yesterday. What Vidya was saying is that, if you were to look at the BJP's performance in the fourth phase in the states which went to polls yesterday, out of 72 seats, BJP alone had got 45 seats, and with Alliance, which had about 6 seats. Going by the mood on the ground, unless something spectacular happens, unless something miraculous happens, I can't really see BJP repeating its 2014 performance. However, there is a huge doubt over what the party is capable of doing with the EVM, which is the voting machine. That is a separate topic altogether. But on the ground, there is a lot of anger. I'm in Bihar right now, where BJP is in alliance with a regional party called JDU and a couple of other parties. Clearly, the BJP is being judged on the promise that Modi had made in 2014. He has not been able to fulfill those promises. So therefore, now the narrative is changing, and the BJP in particular, in general, and Modi in particular, have been invoking the armed forces and the Balakot airstrikes, and that seem to have done, they seem to have done quite well actually with the upper caste Hindus, because in UP and Bihar are heavily, voting along the lines of their caste. So if you were to speak to the upper caste Hindus, they are voting en masse in favor of Modi. If you were to speak to, the lower caste and the Muslims and the Dalits and all, they appear to be rallying behind the Congress and allied parties. So,
right.
That's the mood. I mean, we'll come to know on 23rd what happens.
We'll come to know that for you. But Ms. Vidya, what is your opinion? Is the mood on the ground been affected, as Prime Minister Modi was maybe hoping that the Balakot incident might have incurred or galvanized some more voters, especially considering that the qualms that they had about him not delivering on the promises, whether it was for the farmers or the economy?
Okay, so we have a situation where there's a lot of unrest on the ground. I mean, I recently traveled in UP, so I can tell you that the farmers there are in huge distress. There's a triple whammy of not getting their dues, not, being able to, the interest is mounting on. They've been forced to take loans on which interests are mounting, and then they're not being allowed to sell off their unproductive cattle. So, they are under severe distress. But on the other hand, it's a fact that Mr. Modi continues to be very popular. And he has, in the past, used to talk about Ram Mandir and so on and so forth. Now he found a substitute for that Ram Mandir rhetoric in the armed forces and the so-called Balakot success. So that has touched a chord, and I've even heard people say things like, yes, we don't have a job, yes, we are in distress, but what is more important than national interest, which Mr. Modi represents, and no one else can safeguard this national interest better than him. So, so you have two contradictory impulses playing out there. And and in UP, there's the other factor, which is the alliance between the SP and the BSP, which is a very, very strong alliance. And in terms of arithmetic, it's a huge, it's a blockbuster kind of an alliance.
Right,
and
but Ms. Vidya, let me ask you this. Let me play the devil's advocate here. There are also a school of thought where, considering the mammoth size of the world's biggest democracy, there are, after all, 900 million voters out here. There's also the big concern that it wasn't reasonable to expect Prime Minister Modi to be able to deliver in this tenure all that he had promised.
So there is that feeling too among a section of voters who feel that, in fact, that's a rhetoric that does gel well with voters. The fact that give me another 5 years, and this was just I didn't have the time. I unveiled some policies, and implementation will come in the next 5 years. So you have what you have is the real fact of distress, and there are no jobs, farmers are in distress. So those are the real facts, as opposed to the promise of a better, brighter future. So and to add to that, the whole nationalist rhetoric. So the two, which of these is going to really weigh on the voters when they went and cast their vote, and they are going to.
Right. So let's ask Mr. Rifat. Mr. Rifat, in your opinion, is right now overshadowing the national rhetoric of Modi's right-wing, sort of appealing to the Hindu majority. Do you see that in this vacuum that is being left behind, the 133-year-old Congress party can make a possible comeback?
Look, first of all, let me just counter, you on the point that you raised with Vidya, whether 5 years was good enough for Modi to deliver. Look, nobody is questioning Modi why you couldn't deliver that. What we are asking Modi, and the voter is asking Modi, is that you overpromised in 2014, but your delivery has been you have been under-delivering it. It was Modi who said that, give me 60 months against the 60 years that you had given to Congress party. Then you have been seen as an utterly weak leader. What happened in Balakot and the follow-up, air skirmishes with Pakistan, and Pakistan capturing Indian Air Force officer. So, these are the parameters that Modi has set for himself, and that's the parameters that people are asking. There is a dangerous trend that has happened here. As we speak right now, the Election Commission is busy hearing the complaint, of poll code violations by Modi. Modi has been repeatedly violating the Election Code of Conduct. Now, those are the violations that are good enough to disqualify him if the Election Commission was to conduct itself impartially. Congress party has got to the Supreme Court, and it was only after the Congress party went to the Supreme Court that the Election Commission decided to, move on the complaint. Now, if Election Commission takes impartial decision and objective decision, Modi will be in trouble, because by repeatedly invoking Balakot and by repeatedly seeking votes in the name of armed forces, that's a blatant violation. You cannot seek votes by, invoking armed forces. Second point, he has fielded a candidate who is a terror accused, from Bhopal. That is the pure intention that, he wants to polarize the votes along the line of religion. That's again not allowed under the election guidelines. So these are the things that is there. Mind you, Indira Gandhi had to, face the brunt of the law purely for those violations that Modi is now being accused of. Now, if Election Commission was to act impartially, there will be tough time ahead for Modi and his party.
Essentially, BJP will be in very deep waters if the Election Commission comes out with a verdict. Ms. Vidya, do you think that this would take into effect before the last phase or before the vote count, or this would be something that would happen later?
No, I don't think so, because the Election Commission has not shown the kind of spine required. They have acted against small players. And but when as Jared said, Mr. Modi has been from phase one, and even before that, once the Code of Conduct came into force, he shouldn't have done all the stuff that he's been doing. So, this kind
and
of thing
this is also creating a sense of isolation in a way in the region, with BJP's very sort of staunch backing of the right-wing Hindu mantra, essentially, and almost making assuring that the minorities, if he comes back in power, will be in a lot of trouble, Mr. Rifat.
Yes, I have never seen. I've covered elections for donkey's years, and I've never seen any prime minister, in the past showing this kind of disregard to the rule of law. They clearly do. Modi has never been a fan of minorities and Dalits in India. I've covered Gujarat, right? I've seen his conduct from a very close quarter. So that's not surprising. What is surprising is that by holding the office of Prime Minister, the kind of shenanigans he's been indulging in, that is like tantamount to bringing disrepute to the post of Prime Minister. You would never see a head of the state in a thriving democracy as thriving as India, conduct himself so poorly. Yesterday he was making an election speech in Bengal and publicly threatening an elected government of Mamata Banerjee that, look, 40 of your MLAs are in touch with me. And then after the 23rd of May, when the election results are announced, essentially implying that your government will fall. That is the Prime Minister, who is making this kind of speech. He's become a disgrace, and I've tweeted it from a public platform. I don't think I'm in isolation. There are many people like me, independent voices, who are echoing the same sentiment.
But I think, Mr. Rifat, the real question at the end of the day would be whether the economic needs of the people, whether the fact that if BJP can assure that they will get their jobs, or the farmers will get their crop prices revised, these kind of economic assurance trump the nationalist rhetoric, I suppose.
No, so, that's where things change here, and that's where things are different here compared to the rest of the world. I have spoken to people in Bihar and UP who are willing to suffer starvation, but they will vote for Modi, purely because of the Hindutva. These are not figments of imagination. I've spoken to people, they've gone on record and say, Sukhi roti khayenge, bhuke rahenge, lekin Modi ko vote denge. Now, that's a dangerous trend that has emerged. And that has happened because of Modi's sustained campaign to invoke Hindutva, and polarize the voters. That's what I'm saying. It's a very, very dangerous trend.
Ms. Vidya, let's talk a little about Congress. Where do you think Congress stands right now? Are they going to make a possible comeback, considering the circumstances that have been, especially in the past few months, with Pakistan and India?
There's a near consensus of opinion among opinion makers that Congress has mixed up in a big way. The BJP, because it's actually not performed in 5 years, and the fact that there's a big alliance has come up in UP, which is which is going to ensure that it may lose even 30 to 40 seats in UP. The Congress could have played its part by forming similar alliances in other states, which it failed to do. And so it's a mystery why it has done this. It is not only has it not formed alliances in other states, it is also in UP it seems to be working against the alliance in some parts, which it doesn't add up to anything, because the Congress is not going to win many seats in UP, but by playing on the front foot, which is what Rahul Gandhi said he was going to do, they might be damaging the alliance. The Congress could have easily ensured that the BJP was contained to under 200, if not under 250, by being smart and making alliances. But somehow their advisors seem to have told them that no, let's not get into the business of alliances. Let's instead ensure that we revive ourselves in states where we're doing very poorly, like in UP for instance. Right. So what they're doing is they're going alone in UP, they're going alone in Delhi. So all this is quite damaging to itself and to the overall
So it doesn't.
result.
It almost feels like as if Congress hasn't made much progress from 2014. Mr. Rifat, what do you think?
I think Congress has made progress, but I'll say that Congress had suffered from a massive leadership vacuum in the first 3 years of Modi government. Let's not forget that it wasn't until 2017 when Rahul Gandhi became active. Until that time, he was what I call flash in the pan politics. He used to turn up a photo up on a big story and then would disappear, go into oblivion. And that's not how you dislodge Modi and Shah duo. It's only after, in the last 2 years that he's become active. But having said that, there's still, it's still not a finished work, for Congress. Because not just the alliance, in terms of, how it should be fighting the BJP, they have been absolutely clueless. They don't quite understand whether it's a time to revive the party or it's a time to actually win elections and dislodge Modi and Shah. Because there's also a second, there's very strong kind of conversation happening in India, whether if Modi and Shah manage to return to power, should there be any more elections? Because there are fears that they will do away with the constitution. I don't know whether that will happen, but that's a strong fear that's influencing the political narrative. So keeping that in mind, I think Congress should have acted much more wisely, than what it has actually shown up until now.
Okay. Also, Mumbai was where the polls were taking place today. Also, now it's been getting a lot of election buzz. Ms. Vidya, there is historically associated with these urban centres a very low voter turnout. What is your feel for this time round? Do you think the circumstances, the economic circumstances in India might have changed this for this time round?
So the Mumbai results, Mumbai polling percentages have been very disappointing, very low. So there are two interpretations. One is that the BJP isn't going to do well because, it's a low voting percentage. It typically goes against it. But on the other hand, it could equally be that it's only the BJP's created voters who came out to vote. And the Congress's voters, there's a certain elite, the elite factor operating in Mumbai, especially some of the constituencies, where they talk a lot of politics, but they don't come out and vote.
Right. They rather leave the city, enjoy the break, than actually stick around and vote in the heat. It is quite oppressive at this time of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, that's always the case in India. The urban elite, they only talk big, but they don't really come out and exercise their vote. So, which is why the Dalits and the oppressed classes, if they combine, if they get together, there's a very good chance of being able to dislodge the BJP, which draws its core support from the upper caste. But what has happened in the last 3-4 years is that the BJP has understood this very well, and so therefore what it has done is it's weaned away some of the lower caste from the other parties, and by promising them representation and giving representation, made these some of these lower castes as part of its own alliance.
Right.
So it's that situation of upper caste voting the BJP and therefore and urban centers voting the BJP is not strictly applicable anymore. I mean, it's not that. But there has been a long-term trend of lower voting percentages in the urban centers as compared to the rural areas.
Okay. So Mr. Rifat, we have last minute left. Quickly, any predictions for the end of May, what the turnout's going to be like?
So, I mean, I've been absolutely affirmed that, if, because there have been a lot of complaints about EVM and there have been a lot of question marks about, about the malfunctioning of the voting machines. If that doesn't play a role, I cannot see, Narendra Modi returning to power. I cannot see BJP securing more than 170 to 180 seats, which will be down by more than 100 seats. So if that happens, despite, Modi invoking religion and Hindutva and military, I don't think, BJP is going to come back to power.
Okay. Ms. Vidya, any predictions from you?
So what has happened now is that the BJP is falling short. I mean, it had reached saturation levels in 2014 in North India. There's no way it's going to be able to repeat that. In UP especially, it's losing seats because of the alliance against it. But what it is doing is trying to compensate this by going all out to take West Bengal and Orissa. And these are the two citizens that have been held by these regional leaders, Navin Patnaik and Mamta Banerjee. They've been like impenetrable fortress kind of a thing. But the BJP this time has really mounted a huge assault. I was hoping to try and make up some of the losses from North India, gaining seats here. To what extent they will succeed, how many seats they will get, and whether, it could be very difficult. Even if they manage to do well, it may not quite equal the losses they are suffering elsewhere. My own calculation is that the BJP, Narendra Modi is definitely coming back, but not...
Definitely coming back. All right. Let's see how it turns on May 23rd. Any party or coalition will need a minimum of 272 seats, 272 MPs to form the government. Until then, we'll keep you updated. But right now, we've come to a point where we have to take a short break. We'll be back with the second story. Welcome back. You're watching Newswire. Now, Pakistan's Minister for States and Frontier Regions, Mr. Shahryar Khan Afridi, has called on the world community to play its due role in the honorable and dignified repatriation of Afghan refugees to their homeland. Pakistan has been hosting around 4 million refugees for the past 4 decades, according to Mr. Afridi. He said that despite the financial crunch situation, the Pakistani government was making utmost efforts to facilitate the Afghan refugees over the years. Now, there are various organizations working here in Pakistan to help this process for the Afghans. The UN Refugee Agency, the UNHCR, it has also called for the international community to help Afghanistan improve its absorption capacity and provide development assistance in areas where refugees are most likely to return to Afghanistan. But how will such a behemoth task of repatriating Afghan refugees who have been settled in Pakistan for the past 4 decades be carried out, keeping in mind the precarious situation in Afghanistan itself? While peace talks are underway with the Taliban, violence is still on the rise. To talk about this, I'd like to welcome our guest. Joining us, Lieutenant General Ghulam Mustafa is an analyst. He's joining us from Lahore. And we have Mr. Ghalib Iqbal, a former ambassador, joining us from Islamabad. And also Mr. Nasrullah Sahibzada, an analyst, joining us from Kabul. I'd like to welcome all three of you to Newswire to discuss this important topic. Lieutenant General Ghulam Mustafa, let me come to you. When you heard this statement coming from Mr. Afridi, how do you take it? What could it have been in the shift of the refugees being here in Pakistan that made him address this issue at this point?
There are a number of issues related to these refugees who have been on Pakistani soil for the last 4 decades. One is, of course, that we have talked of. One is the terrorists who come in the garb of refugees and then use our hospitality against us. That is one issue. The second is that our economic life as it is shrinking right now, gets further burdened when you have these additional 4 million. No, I believe it is less than that. These people dependent on that. The entire social structure gets affected. Whole cities have been, in fact, developed beyond shape because of these people. But having said that, this is one humanitarian. Second is because of our religious and ethnic relationship with these people. It's not going to be an easy job. The third, which I fear, is that as and when there is a settlement or some sort of settlement that we think should come about in Afghanistan, I suspect there will be more violence, forcing some more people getting out of Afghanistan and then falling into Pakistan and Iran. So all in all, this problem is not going to go away so soon. It's not so easy. And unless they go back as people who are grateful to Pakistan for what Pakistan has done for them, that will be of no use, because all this, that these people go back to Afghanistan and become hostile to Pakistan,
right,
like some of them have done already. Pakistan will lose out on whatever goodwill it has gained, whatever sacrifices it made, whatever losses we sustained because of the presence of these Afghan people here in Pakistan.
Right. Mr. Ghalib, what do you think? Do you that at this crucial juncture, it could be just the new surge or new wave of refugees heading towards Pakistan? Something that even, interestingly enough, the US Special Envoy to Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad, recently said in an interview in Afghanistan, that even if a peace was reached in the upcoming near future, there would be actually more violence in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree with both of them. Primarily, the situation at the moment is that we are hopeful that we are going to arrive at a certain solution for Afghanistan, the 4 decades old displacement of Afghan refugees and the political and terrorism going on in Afghanistan. I think we need to look at it from another angle also. Because if you're looking at the purely from Afghan refugees angle, then it is a humanitarian issue. But even for the Afghans, if we send them back voluntarily, and as they say, UNHCR says, well-informed and safe and dignified way, still, because over here they are getting $78 per person. And when they return, they get just one time $200 per person. So they don't want to lose this amount which they are getting regularly from here.
Also, there is another issue of a porous border, because once they do go back and receive the $200 for settling back in Afghanistan, they very easily can make it back into Pakistan.
Yeah, then they come back into Pakistan. That is the problem, because we do not have a very technologically advanced system whereby we can ensure that the people who have gone back do not enter our borders again. Because of this, because of the porous borders, we are having this serious problem. The second point about more violence, yes, we feel that there will be more violence after we arrive at a certain solution, of the Afghan conflict, and only after that we see that there would be something better coming for the region. But in the near future, yes, we do see more violence because displacements are going to take place. And until or unless everybody, all the stakeholders in Afghanistan are at the same page, on the same page, it's not possible for the people of Afghanistan, and it's not possible for the people of all regions of Afghanistan to ensure their own safety.
Right.
To ensure that, they will have to move out from those areas. And when they move out, where are the borders most porous? It is in Pakistan. So that's why they are going to be coming again back to Pakistan. And we might have a bigger problem of Afghan refugees, which at the moment is something like 3 million to 3.5 million. It might increase.
Right.
But you never know. If everything goes smoothly as per plan, if everything goes as per all the stakeholders are hoping that it would, then there would be no violence or minimal violence.
Okay. And Mr. Nasrullah, how do you feel about the statements you've just heard from our guests?
Thank you. Actually, I have mixed feelings here. On the one side, the Afghan refugees, if they are coming to the country, to Afghanistan, So it will have positive effect. Yes, we do understand that there are skilled laborers. There are Afghan investors who have done investment in Pakistan, so they will return investment to the country. They will share their diversified learning that they have learned from Pakistani colleagues from our Pakistan neighbors. Yes, we will be having technicians, professional people, academic people. Overall, it will have a positive economic growth on the country. But at the same time, it will definitely have a negative impact on the country because we need to have, that we are, Afghan nation is a young nation. Around more than 70 people, they are less than 30 years. So it means we still have a labor problem. Jobs market is still not that much stable. Like every year we are having 400,000 labor force entering to the market. So yes, there would be a problem, and at the same time there are positive feelings. Like now you may be aware that Loy Peace Jarga is going on, and that will give us a framework and a scope of work how to negotiate Afghan government with the Taliban. And I'm sure that Peace Jarga will be having a positive impact on the Afghan returnees.
Okay, right. And Lieutenant General, let me come to you and ask, do you feel, in your opinion, considering the situation that is in Afghanistan, is Afghanistan even ready to absorb its returnees? And if not, or if so, what kind of time frame are we talking about?
I think Afghanistan will take, if it becomes peaceful, let's say in the next 6 months' time and things start settling down, it will be quite some time before Afghan economy can absorb these additional members which are going to go back. You must not forget that it's almost a war economy which is running Afghanistan right now. The economic activity that should have been a normal course of action, that is almost non-existent. And whatever economy exists is either black market or is dependent on the smuggling and the rest of the things. So these people, when they go back to Afghanistan, will be a huge burden on the society as a whole. And Afghanistan will take quite a bit of time and a lot of investment from outside to start getting them into the mainstream life. So that is one thing that the Afghan government is worried, and that is one thing that Pakistan should also, on the humanitarian level, should worry.
Right.
And that is where UN should also worry.
Now the UN is... Sorry, go ahead.
This is also a pressure point that Pakistan has, if it wants to really tell the Afghanistan government and whoever is there in Kabul, that if you don't behave and if you don't stop interfering in what Pakistan is doing for the welfare of Afghanistan and elsewhere, and Pakistan's own internal affairs, then Pakistan has this weapon. This is something which is working both ways for Afghanistan as well as for Pakistan. Like I said earlier, it's Pakistan's endeavor, and should have been, it is, I know for a very long time, that these Afghan people who have come to Pakistan have been absorbed as our brothers and of same faith and on humanitarian grounds. They must go back better, I would say, in the sense that they should talk positive of Pakistan.
Right. Not just talk positive. And Mr. Ghalib, I'd like your opinion on this, the peace talks that are taking place. And do you feel this is a critical time that Pakistan should take advantage of and sort of emphasize the repatriation of refugees?
Pakistan should do it, but we should remember one thing, that the Afghan society has been polarized to an extent that the economic issues probably can be resolved in the next 10 years and the political issues can be resolved in 15 years. But the social issues will take decades before we can see some sort of a semblance of peace and tranquility within Afghan borders. This is one issue which the Afghan government and the Afghan people have to resolve on their own. Pakistan at the moment is a facilitator. Pakistan wants that Afghan-owned and Afghan-led solution should be taking place within Afghanistan so that it brings peace back to the region. Because once Afghanistan is stable, Pakistan is going to be stable.
Absolutely.
It is not possible for us to dictate terms in a way as most of the countries feel that we do. We have a stake. We have very high stakes in Afghanistan. But at the same time, we have unlimited maneuvering possibilities with us, diplomatically, politically. And these two things put together, we should be able to provide the best facilitation to Afghanistan, to all the stakeholders within Afghanistan, to come about to a situation where they can resolve the conflict.
Right.
And once we have a peaceful Afghanistan, we can see a peaceful Pakistan. So it is imperative, it's more imperative for Pakistan at the moment than any other country in the world. That's why we say that Pakistan has more higher stakes as compared to other countries in Afghanistan. That's why what all actions Pakistan has taken, we have been taking in the past, and we'll continue to take it in the future also.
Nasrullah, at the same time, in considering this, what we've heard from our guests, the UNHCR, when it did its report survey, it came up with these figures, and I'd like to hear your comment on this. It said that 84% of the refugees who wanted integration into Pakistan, essentially meaning they wanted to be holding Pakistani citizenship, and only 25% said that they wanted to resettle in any other country with the condition that it was an Islamic country. What do you think, what comes to your mind when you hear these numbers from UNHCR?
Actually, comes to my mind that the Pakistani brothers, they are giving more facilities to Afghan refugees who are already there. That's a research report, and I have not completely been through that report, so I cannot comment on that. What I would like to say that the Afghan refugees, if they are going to be, if there would be a voluntary repatriation to Afghanistan, so I suggest that there should be a scheduled repatriation, it should come with a proper plan. We need to focus on the shelter, on the water, on the jobs creations, and the other business opportunities. Yes, we have done lots of work on the business in order to create jobs and facilitate other business facilities. You may heard that Afghanistan was 183. But for in the year 2017 and 18, we got to 167 as per the World Bank Doing Business report. And another strategy that Afghan government has been currently they are working on it, and they should do. We need to develop the lands that we have. Like we have a big desert, so we have a Dashti Bakwa or Dilaram, Hairatan. So for the economic development of a country, there is a human and there is a natural resources. So if we have more human capital, then we can properly utilize those lands which are currently idle. And we do understand that our Pakistani brothers, they have done a lot for the Afghan refugees who are there. They have facilitated the education facilities, the health facilities, and other social support. Afghans are Afghanistan and Pakistan. They are two independent countries, but two brother countries. We have to work in a cooperation with both countries. If I give you an example, if we are sending anything from here to India, either even through Gwadar border, so Pakistan would be the easiest and the easiest route. But right. If we go through air corridor, it will be a costly corridor that we will be having. So there is a mutual understanding, there is a mutual support, and I'm sure once again we may request that in case the Afghan refugees, they are going to be repatriated, so there should be a scheduled repatriation rather than a sudden return to the country. I'm sure it will be another problem for Afghan people.
Yes, because one of the main concerns that the UNHCR report highlighted time and again throughout this report, along with polls that they had conducted amongst the refugees, was that if Afghanistan doesn't offer them that kind of better platform, there would be no reason to move.
Yeah, exactly. It's a demand and supply thing. So if we need to, as an Afghan, we need to provide them better facilities in terms of jobs, in terms of livelihoods, in terms of their social living, other welfare activities, make them to come to Afghanistan. But again, I'm suggesting that if around 3 million people or even 1.5 million people or 1.7 million people, they come at once to Afghanistan, it will be another problem for the country. So we are happy, we are hopeful that the returnees will make addition to the GDP of the country. Like I was doing a little bit calculation that if around 1.7 million Afghans who are currently refugee in Pakistan, they return to Afghanistan, so they will have a positive impact on 2 to 3% to the current GDP of the country. They will be able to help they will be as a source for the production. I'm sure they have a expertise they have learned from our Pakistani colleagues. They have in all sectors, so they can play a positive role. But
they can play a very positive role to the economics. But also, is it realistic to expect? And I'd like to get your views on this, Lieutenant General. On families, Afghan families who have done better, who have established businesses in key industries in Pakistan, are contributing not just in remittances back to Afghanistan, but essentially to Pakistan's economy also. Is it realistic to expect to tear up that social fabric and want them to move back? After all, there are only 1.4 million who are actually registered in Afghanistan in Pakistan as refugees.
There'll be a certain degree of upheaval, particularly in cities like Karachi and Lahore and Peshawar, because these are the places where our Afghan brothers have set themselves up, and some of them doing extremely well. But then, having said that, Pakistan and Afghanistan, they both have to decide on one issue, that those who cannot absorb themselves as Pakistani in Pakistan, they cannot live here on this soil. They have to go back. Establishing businesses, fine. They can be like Pakistanis establishing business elsewhere in the world. We can give that kind of facility. But giving them the citizenship and naturalizing them, all of them, that is where Pakistan will have a problem. We already are busting at the seams as regards our own population growth is concerned. And the additional 2 million people, 2 million plus people, have that kind of effect on the society already. So that is one thing that we must understand. The second thing we must also understand, and which we usually don't talk about, which is, I think, as serious a problem, is that you keep hearing these voices that we have Afghans and we have this right of coming up with this kind of they draw a line of somewhere along Atak and this place. This kind of a voice is also raised, and then certain political elements in Pakistan, they are using these Afghan brothers of ours to their political ends. That again is a problem that Pakistan has to look into, and Pakistan has to sort that out, because that is where sorting out our own, cleaning our own house is concerned. Right. And that problem also has to be faced very squarely. There are reports of some politicians in Quetta and some people in KP doing that kind of a thing. So all in all, I think it's a time that the two governments should sit down, sort this affair out, and those Afghans who have done well in Pakistan and they want to stay on in Pakistan as Afghans, not naturalized, but as Afghans doing business on visa or something, that kind of a thing, arrangements can always be made. Right. And that would be good for Afghans, could be good for Pakistan. Similarly, the same kind of facilities should also be available to Pakistanis who want to set up their businesses in Afghanistan and Kabul. Right. Lately, we have also seen that some Pakistanis have been dealt with very badly by, I'm sure they're not the normal Afghan people. There are some vested interests who don't want to see Pakistan and Afghanistan getting any closer. But nevertheless, there is a problem that we must face squarely and deal with it.
And there's a huge potential of trade that at the moment is abysmal, at its abysmal low. Mr. Ghalib, something that Lieutenant General mentioned about these anti-immigration or pro-immigration and how elections were being fought on these anti-migrant policies. We've seen what happened to Angela Merkel's career as a result of what Germany's immigration policy was in her tenure. Is this something of a grave concern in your point of view when it comes to Afghan refugees in Pakistan?
I think politically at our level, probably it won't be, because they are with us for the last 4 decades, and we have tried to provide all the facilities to the Afghan refugees. We have tried to look after them as our brothers and sisters. But because of that, we also have faced a lot of social problems. We have also faced a lot of security problems. And we have not been able to work out the best methods whereby we can ensure that they remain within the bounds of accepting and following the rules of Pakistan. Now, the biggest problem at the moment for Afghanistan is that when these people go back to Afghanistan, and the second and third generation which was born in Pakistan, for them, Pakistan is their home country. And when they go back, they will be treated like aliens, and they would feel as if the others living over there are aliens. It's only the parents or the grandparents who were the Afghans and who were born there. They are going to have serious social issues, and those social issues lead to a lot of security problems. And it is going to be within Afghanistan. I think this is one reason that Afghanistan do not want to have it in one go or in bigger installments. They want to have it in very small installments so that they can absorb those people over there. They can absorb those people over there. But I would strongly support General Saab's proposal that all those people who are doing business over here, for the purpose of ensuring continuity and for the purpose of ensuring that people who have been given employment from Pakistan by the Afghan patrons, they should be issued some sort of a visa which deals with them as like a work permit or a business permit over here, and they continue to do their businesses.
Last minute, Mr. Nasrullah, I just want to get your thoughts, especially on the angle that there is a huge industry of building up a country after it being torn through war. And Afghanistan is one prime example where 40 years of conflict has brought a huge opportunity to those in investing in Afghanistan to build it back up again. So clearly this is not something that has come to the forefront during these negotiations, these conversations. Do you think a little more highlighting this issue could help and also give an incentive to refugees from not just Pakistan but across the region to start moving back?
Yes, I'm totally agree with you. We are working on different programs. Like in the country, we are now focusing to use the natural resources, and at the same time, we are now focusing to have a special economic zone in Afghanistan, which is mostly focusing on the export and creating jobs. So we are working to provide better facilities and incentives to Afghan refugees so they can come to Afghanistan voluntarily. But at the same time, I would like to request from our Pakistani neighbors and Pakistani brothers that they have done a lot for Afghans and for themselves. Now it is the time that they should keep those things that they have already done. So we should be logical, and we should see the both countries, like when we say they have to go, when we say they need to have a passport, they need to have a visa, it gives some other feelings to Afghan people, and it affects a specific sector of Afghanistan, which is mostly Pashtuns. So we are requesting our Pakistani brothers to take whenever they're taking any steps, so the steps should be logical.
It should be logical. It's a delicate balance, and it concerns not just an overnight move. This is 40 years, of course, that and over 3 million people that we are talking about that need to be uprooted from what has been their home here in Pakistan and returned to their ancestral homes. And with that, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Nasrullah and Mr. Ghalib, and also Lieutenant General Ghulam Mustafa, for giving your valuable input and time here on Newswire. But unfortunately, we have come to the end of the program, and we will see you tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.